All right, I think, yeah, looks like we're live. Okay. All right. Hello again, everyone. This is take two. The if you caught on to the previous stream when we kicked it off at 8 o'clock, we had a lot of issues, mostly on my end. So I was trying to pull down all the different images that make up Merlin, and if you follow John, you'll know that he's added a lot of features. Well, the downside of that is it filled up my SSD, my hard drive that is my boot drive, and completely like crashed everything. Like I literally had like 10 megabytes left on my boot drive, so which if you can imagine, killed everything. So finally sorted that
So,
out, and so instead, since we didn't want to mess with storage and moving things around tonight. John is now driving since he has all the images on his local machine. Another side, another beauty of live share, right? I was driving at first, I had everything set up, but now John has everything set up on his local machine, but we're still, I can still code in our VS Code instance. So kind of pretty cool in that way, but at the same time, yeah, I gotta check out my storage tomorrow. So I'm
I
gonna let
feel so
John
bad.
drive.
I feel so bad for killing Danny's machine, and we couldn't quite figure out like he was trying to pull the images and they just weren't finishing, and we were like, I thought something was wrong in my code or my Docker Compose, or no, we just ran out of disk. So, but to Danny's point, we just shifted gears and okay, well, I'll drive, and he can still, through the magic of live share, he can still show you the code and the pages and the views. So where we ended up um, after our previous attempts at this was on this line 56, where dot save is actually going to save, right, the operating system as the JSON's dot operating system, the license as the license, the entitlement as the entitlement. So now what we're going to do is, and Danny's probably, are you on the on demand center, Danny?
I think so. Oh, let me try it again.
Okay. So there's a button right now, and what you'll notice is there's a gap beside the button as a place for us to input text, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But that's where we're going to pick up tonight, is finishing um, the ways to trigger this code. So one is with the click of a button, two will be with an input text, and three will be through a scheduled task. And then once we know we're filling the database with those three ways, we're going to move on to writing views to present these this parser that Danny wrote, the Genie parser for the show license summary. And I'm really excited because it's license information, and I want to be able to present it to not necessarily just a network engineer, but maybe a finance department or the procurement department or people that handle our licenses that may not know the first thing about the show license summary command, right? So how are we doing, Danny? Do you have that page up?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, good. So if you want to click the button,
All right.
and I've already clicked it once to make sure that we're not going to have any more problems. On my end, I can see the PyTS job running.
Okay.
So I know this code is working in response to the view that we've written. Now, Danny, go
Yep.
to port 8000 slash admin,
Okay.
and let's show everyone what we've just accomplished over our last kind of 3 weeks together. And there is a table in there for the show license summary. It should be plural. And you can actually click on that and see what we've written to the database. And you can use the timestamp. There's probably 4 records in there right now, and two sets of 2 records, right?
All right. So I just got signed into the admin. What table am I looking at? The.
Okay. The show license summary should be almost at the bottom,
Yep.
and there's 4 records, right?
Uh, It's trying to. There it is. Okay. Actually, I see two.
Okay, so maybe. Oh no, it's two because I don't know. Hmm.
You ran
Did I
once. I
flush it
ran
out?
once. Maybe.
I think I flushed it. No, no, what
Okay.
happened was I after my test I deleted my records. So two is in fact what we should have. Now, if you click on one of those, you should see our model that we did in week 1 together, the dot models version
Mm-hmm.
as, a Django admin page database table, right? And you can actually add it or perform CRUD activities, delete it, overwrite it,
Yeah.
change it. You could manually populate it. Okay, so now what we're going to do, I'm going to bring I'm going to bring everything down and we're going to do some coding now, okay?
Sounds good.
So you can I've just brought down the servers and let's hop into VS Code. So now that we know that this PyETS job works, what we've done is actually completed the summary job. And this is for devices objects.all. Well, what we actually want to do now is filter on a search input field that the user is going to type in a view. And we have to code that. So there was an empty space beside the button. We're going to put a little text field in that, based on what the user types in, is going to use Q, which is like a compounded complex or statement, like and or, and search for what the user typed in against the device's table. So then they can filter down to just the IP, and we're going to test that. The other thing while we're here in scheduling mode, so let's go do that first before I get too far ahead of myself. Um, so where we need to go first, Danny, is into our on-demand URLs, and we're
Okay.
going to make a new URL. And I'm going to do a lot of copy paste tonight, just for the sake of moving a little faster
Yeah,
and
that's not a
explain
problem.
as I go. So what we're going to do is have a new, right? So when they go to on-demand slash show um, license summary, right? Is that what I have up here?
Yeah.
Yeah, show license summary. And instead of show license summary all results, we're going to have show license summary filter results, which is going to call the on-demand result, and let's call this license summary as a view, and we're going to name it, show um, license summary on-demand filter, and we need to import that since it's going to be in our views file. So let's put that in alphabetically. So after the here. And now what we're going to do is move into our views file, and we're going to go to the bottom here and make a new view. Again, I'm going to copy and paste and rewrite an existing one. And let's take show inventory. So we have to name that class the same as what we defined it in our URL, right? So what we just write this here, and let me get rid of this spacing. And then back in our view, right? So we're going to have a class for on-demand result. Whoops, did I not copy it? I thought I copied it. Oh, I didn't name it here. Sorry, I copied the wrong one. That's my mistake. Did I do that twice? No, show license summary. Okay. And then that's a list view. And, right, we're going to get, well, what filter we're going to call this show license summary filter. And now this is a temporary field that I use to hold what the user's query was, as well as the timestamp of their query. So again, we just did .save to write your parser information to the database, this is going to save their query, which is a get. We're intercepting the user's get for that license filter when they press enter in the filter. So then what we're going to do is run that show inventory, or no, excuse me, show license summary filter job here. And any questions so far, Danny?
No,
Have I
it
moved?
makes sense. You're basically you're creating your route, and we're basically at a high level. So kind of so everyone knows, we have a button that will go out and get all of the license information for all the devices in our inventory. Right now, it's just one device that we're using from the Cisco DevNet sandbox, right? And now we're creating a job that allows us to filter our results based on a variety of different subjects, like host name, IP address, and there's definitely some other fields as well I'm missing. But
Yeah,
ultimately, that's
you,
what we're doing.
that's right. And where those fields are coming from, I'm not going to let them search for password, right? But I
Yeah.
do want them to say if IP address equals 10.10.10.100, then go get the license summary. I want the user to have some granular control as opposed to, if this Merlin ever had 100 devices in it, the user, maybe they don't want to wait for all 100 devices to parse and fill the database when they just want one device or a subset of devices. So that's exactly it. Now, how I do this is in the template. So again, if you've done any Jinja 2 templating, you can do Django templating. It's very similar, if not exactly the same. So this is my table header row, right? And I have my all results, which is a button. And then I have my filter results, which is the actual filter. And then I just list the available filters for the user. They have a reference on what the filters are, and then a status for a spinner that will spin whenever the activity is taking place. So let's go add that new filter box to our screen, which is going to be under the show license summary. And again, I'm going to copy and paste because I do this all the time, by the way. I'm not just copying and pasting um, tonight, but I typically make something work once and then reuse it quite a bit because I don't want to write all this from scratch every single time. So let's call this show license summary filter, and we'll give that as the ID and the name. And
And
that name has to match
I was gonna say real
from
quickly,
our.
I'm gonna show on the screen because that way the viewer can see where where we're editing on the on-demand center. So you'll notice kind of this empty block here. This is kind of where we're coding right now, right? We're trying to filter, and these are all the provided filters that the user can use. So we're creating the front end code, the HTML code, when realistically we're kind of connecting it to the back end for us to be able to filter our devices. So this button gathered all the information, and then now we're creating kind of this text box here to filter that information, to a specific device. Go ahead,
That's
John.
a
Sorry.
really good idea to show them that. No, no, don't be sorry. I think that's a great way to connect it. Now, again, this is a form, and it's important. And that is, if we looked in the code again, it's the dot get, right? I'm interacting with that HTTP get um, because it's a form, and that's what's happening. And we could, filter devices. So the other thing we're going to build, since I have to bring up the server and rebuild it, so those are two, um, that's a button and a filter input. Now, Danny, the other thing that we're going to do is add this to our scheduling system.
Okay.
So there's a file, and you haven't seen this yet, a file called task that we're going to set up a shared task. And you see how it's from celery? So this is a celery task, and we're going to use what's called beets. And so there's celery, beets, flour. There's a lot of sort of scheduling related tools, Redis. Um, but for now, what we're going to do is present a new shared task to our periodic task in the admin panel. And what we're going to do is schedule this to run every 2 minutes tonight to make sure that our users can run this three ways. They can schedule it as a set it, forget it type job that just runs every X number of minutes or days or hours, or they can click a button on demand or filter on demand. So what we're going to do again, and this is very simple. It looks simple because it is simple. In your celery pie file, right? We we point it to our broker. That took me a little bit to figure out this broker line. And this is important to say auto discover tasks. So that way when we're going to add this task right now, what we're going to do, celery and beets and flour and all these systems will automatically discover that we have a new shared task. So let's take show inventory and we can call it what we want. This is what's actually going to show up in the menu. So show license summary. And we want to run our all, this assumes they want it on all devices. So it's called, show license summary job. License summary job. Okay, so now I'm just going to switch over to my back end and rebuild everything.
Okay.
The only other thing I should mention, and this was really, I don't know, I don't even know how I remember how I figured it out, but the celery worker, so that scheduled task actually runs inside of its own little container called a worker. I have to flush that out. So I actually have to say Docker images, and then I have to do Docker image RM and get rid of my worker. Otherwise, it will be cached and that new task will not show up. I'm just mentioning that in case you're a contributor and you want to make a new scheduled job for me. You have to make sure you flush out that worker image. So let me bring this up, Danny, and then when you, pardon me, it's going to take about 2 minutes to come up. But what we're expecting to see now is if you shift F5 and refresh the on-demand center,
Mm-hmm.
there should be a filtered text box now,
All right.
and also in /admin under the periodic tasks, which is all the way to the bottom left in a scheduled tasks area. There's one called periodic tasks. We're going to go in there next. So it'll just be another minute before everything comes up. And this is sort of my process, Danny. I do the back end that we took care of the last couple weeks. I get the button and the filter working to trigger the jobs and the schedule working. And then it's just a matter of, like you said, front end work. I think because of time, there's a couple of more interesting things I think I'd rather focus on showing tonight than maybe doing every little nuance. But I will finish the rest of the soup to nuts, every single view for your parser. I'll do that over the weekend. But there's a couple of things I think you should see to consider Django, for your work, and so people see some of the more I'm not even going to say advanced. You'll see how easy they are. It's I would say more important aspects of Django, but it's coming up. My containers are rebuilding now, so it'll just be a minute. Just checking on. Yeah, I have all green. That's good.
See if I can get to the
Elasticsearch is
page
already
again.
up.
Yeah, I
Well,
refreshed the page and
it's not quite there.
yeah. Let's see.
Oh yeah, so try on demand now, Danny. Do you want to go there?
Sure. See if it
And
works.
you should have an input box now, right?
Yeah. Let me see. Yeah.
We
Yep.
do?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
so let's try the negative. Try Danny because we know Danny is not in the devices table. But we also want to make sure it's not going to crash and that it actually triggers. So I see the job running and it's done. And the spinner should be done and everything returned to normal, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, so now try um, iOS XE or 1010 2100, something that should be a positive hit.
All right.
And it ran and it's working. Yep, we wrote to the database. Good. So, do you want to go into the admin center?
Yeah, I can do that.
And let's go to the bottom left corner and click on periodic tasks.
All right.
And go ahead and hit add task. I can't see your screen, so this is fun. I'm trying to
Yeah.
navigate you through this.
So under periodic tasks, click the add button next to periodic task.
Yeah.
Got it.
And then give it a name. Just say, license summary test. And then if you click the drop down of tasks, you should in fact see show license summary task, right?
Oh yeah. Let me check. Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. So give it, I don't know, I would say 2 minutes because we don't want to be, wait too long for it to run.
Mm-hmm.
So if you select 2 minutes and then start time of, give it a date time of, now.
Okay. What about what schedule? The cron tab schedule, interval schedule for setting the
There
two
should be
minutes.
the very first one in the menu system. Let me take a look on my end.
Add another
Sorry, I
interval.
forgot I have it on my end. I should just walk you through what to click. Sorry, hang on. I'm logging
Minutes.
into the
Two.
periodic tasks. So periodic tasks, hit add periodic tasks
I got it.
and interval schedule, the very first one. If you click plus on that, you should be able to give it 2 minutes and then under start date time, click today and now.
All right. I just
And
added it, so you should be able to see it now.
I see it. Yeah. So can you go into that? Let's flush our table so that way it's empty and then way we know this is working. So if you want to go into, show license summaries
Oh, okay.
and click select all button, and then you can do the drop down and say delete,
All right.
and then we'll know that it's empty. And then
Just
you can't see this on your end, but I'm going to open up my celery beat, and it told me that the schedule has changed.
okay.
So I can almost guarantee that this is going to run. Now, what time? Actually, I don't even need to ask you. So we said 9:39. So at 9:41, in about a minute, this is going to run.
Okay.
Now, Danny, can you open up a new? If either from Heimdall, the Heimdall page, click on Flower,
Mm-hmm.
or simply go to port 8888.
Okay. So it's opening up now.
So that'll open up Flower, and then as soon as it runs for the first time in the cron job, you'll actually see the status of the job in Flower, that was a successful job and how long it took. It's pretty neat. It's pretty interesting that we actually have a monitoring tool for our scheduling system in Flower. So what time is it? It's got to be starting any second now. Any second now this will kick in. It's 9:41. And guess what? It just started, Danny, inside
Oh
of the
yeah,
worker.
processed.
And do you see a job running in Flower now?
I do. Yeah.
And now it should say that it was a successful job in Flower.
Yep.
And it gives you how long did it take out of curiosity?
About 14 seconds.
Cool. So now if you refresh your Django page, Danny, it'll tell you the last runtime inside of that scheduled task view,
Oh yeah, I
or
see
it
it.
should.
Oh, sorry. I'm in the show
And
license
then
summary table. It shows that it
no,
ran.
but the show license summary table now has data in it, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, so go ahead and flush out that periodic task. We can turn that off.
Okay.
And let me know when that's done, and then I'll tear down the server and we'll start working on different views and different activity centers.
Okay. We're good.
Yeah, and you know what? It told me in my worker that the schedule has changed and I no longer have a schedule. Very cool, very cool.
Nice.
Okay, so let's hop back into VS Code
All right.
and let's make some views. So actually, I think let's start with I mean, we can kind of pick. What I usually do is come into URLs and so changes, we probably won't do changes tonight because we can't actually affect change in the licenses.
Yeah.
But we can do search, and let's actually do Merlin APIs. So when you go to slash API now, this actually calls the Django REST framework. It's like a separate piece of Django that you have to install separately. But all we need to do, I picked this one because all we need to do is make a serializer for our data. So what we're going to do is first we're going to go to our um, Merlin API URL, and we're going to router register our new API. So I'm going to router register show license summary, and this is a view called show license summary view set, just because it's a view set. And then our URL patterns are included in router URLs, which takes us right into our views.
Yep.
Now the view has two things. This is slightly different than our other views where usually we just have the model. We're going to have the model and we're going to have a serializer. So for the model that we need, we're going to bring in, you know, show license summary as our model. And then we're going to make a new serializer or reference one that we haven't made yet called parse show license summary serializer, just for the naming convention. And then we're going to copy and paste one of these classes, right? So a new function here. Let's copy the show inventory view set. And again, I want to make sure that I call the view set the same thing. So show license summary view set, which is a view sets from model view set. And our query isn't show inventory objects all, right? It's our show license summary objects all. So this is a query set against our database data that then we pass through our serializer class, which is show license summary serializer. Now I'm going to split the screen and open up my models file, which I'm going to reference quite a bit while we do these views. We need these fields um, quite a bit heavily. I heavily lean on this split screen development, let me say, that I want to reference what these different keys are as I build things like serializers. So we're going to hop into, geez, I knew I was going to do that. Models, and over here I want serializers. So again, we have to import our model, which I don't think I've done yet, in serializers to show license summary. And then it's pretty easy. You just tell it the fields that you want to serialize, and we have to name the serializer the same thing as what we defined it as, right? So parse show license summary serializer, which calls this hyperlinked model serializer. And what's our model? Well, our model is show license summary. And what are our fields? Well, we have PyETS, an operating system. We then have our license name, our entitlement, our count, our status, and then our timestamp. Perfect. It's all done. Now, that's it. Honestly, it's hard to believe. It really is. But with those few steps that I just, I went through pretty quickly, but let me bring the server back up. So I just need to hit build. And while it's coming up, Danny, might be a good time for questions or if you want to recap anything to make sure that you understand what we just did. Because
Yeah.
it takes 2 minutes for the server to come up. Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, so just for kind of the viewers, and I know it can be tough to constantly trying to understand what's going on in the code. John's doing a really good job explaining what pieces he's affecting, but you may be unsure about what we're actually talking about. So if you've joined any of my previous streams, we've with Fast API, it integrates with Pydantic, which does some data validation using data models. Actually, you can create some table models with the SQL model library as well. So the reason that John's talking about the models and then the serializers is whenever you're interacting with an API, you don't want I couldn't even imagine trying to deal with an API that had different types of data, a schema, a different schema, different data formats. So that's what the models and the serializers allow you to do is transform it into kind of the proper, I hate to use the actual word model, but it kind of helps predict the format, which then can double up as some documentation. So, taking what John's doing here is, he has a model, right? We're in the serializers file, and he's referencing a model and then the different fields that will be used in these fields will be used in the API itself. Are these kind of the keys, or is this related to the fields related to the HTML?
This is right from the model fields, yeah. And
Okay.
what's interesting is um, this might seem kind of weird to say, hang on, what you're doing is going to um, get SSH standard output, turn it into JSON, put it into a database, and then represent it as JSON. And
Yeah.
yes, that's what I'm doing. In a roundabout way, I'm getting you the license summary JSON, even though there's no RESTconf API involved. Like it's kind of like a proxy to get, and it'll make a lot more sense. So Danny, do you want to try either slash API after port 8000 or from Heimdall? There should be an API, an actual REST API button. It's up to you.
Yeah, I'll take.
The server is back up now.
Okay. Yeah, and I'm logging into that now. And actually, John kind of he just glanced over that, but he is correct. The data that we're putting into the database, the database has a certain schema. In our case, we're putting raw JSON, into the database, pulling it out, right? But in different applications and different devices. In our case, we're dealing with network devices, but you really don't know. This data could, let's say, we're pulling from a network device using, netconf, right? That not super pertinent, but the idea is, that data payload's coming back in XML. So in that case, you wouldn't store XML in the database. You would parse that, create a data model, which then you could apply to a kind of a table, a schema, right? A database schema, save those results. And then in your, when you, like I have the API, the root API screen up right now, you can extract all that data from the database and then return it in in this case, a JSON format. A lot of APIs that's kind of the way APIs are going is in a JSON format. So that's the point of the serializer, is to help serialize or transform that data into, in our case, JSON.
Well, I picked this one. So did it work? Do you have it on your list of APIs that you can call?
Yes. Yeah, so here it is here. Yep.
So go ahead and do the show license summary and make sure that it's serialized okay. And you should actually get
Yeah.
the JSON, right?
Yep. This
So
is it right here.
why I picked this one first is because I know developers that want to help me automate and write Python and write solutions against network state data. And they don't know the first thing about networks. They don't even know how to sign in. They might not even have a key fob. Well, now I can, right, quite easily get them the JSON through my own REST API. Danny, do you have Postman or ThunderClient or something installed?
I do. Let me pull it
So
up here.
check this out. If you go and make a get against localhost 8000 slash API slash show license summary in Postman,
Yeah.
um,
I
it,
have it. It's booting up
it's a
now.
it's a real API. Like you can actually use external tools like Postman or curl or request.get or Ansible URI. There's many ways to consume APIs, right? So now some people may not even want to launch Merlin, right? They don't care about data tables. Merlin's got the JSON just in an API. They can do whatever they want with it, right? It's just another way to look at it. So let me know your post, and I don't want to belabor the point, so we can move on to the next view. But I love this. You saw how easy it was, right? Take whatever's in the Postgres and present it as an API, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm pulling it up now. All right. So that's actually, I was testing the API that I have built out for my NetCheck project. All right, so API show license summary.
Yeah, I see it. You got a 200,
There it
right?
is.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you can see here, the 200 OK. That's basically, obviously, you're good. And the data, and it's the same data that's in the browser. The browser really is, it's a lot of times it's used for navigation purposes. First time you're dealing with the API, it kind of doubles up as documentation, and then a lot of developers use a tool like Postman, which I have open now, to actually test the APIs and see, the headers, if we get any cookies, and then the body of the response. So very cool stuff, because what you could do, like John mentioned, a lot of application developers, I mean, that's how applications communicate with one another, right? Is over an API, or that's kind of the whole point of the application programmable interface, right? API. So it's very cool, because now a developer could take this data, ingest it into his program or his application, and I mean, the sky's the limit really with that. So because at this point, you now have, the number of licenses, the type of license, the name of the license, and the status of the license. So you can now parse this data up however you want. You can get a total count of how many devices are being used in your environment, you can compare the status. So how many devices are in use versus expired. I mean, there's so much to do, with this interface. But
So Danny, there's still quite a bit here, and it's I don't want to keep you too late tonight, but um,
yeah,
let me just show you like a standard data table view, and maybe we could end on that view in HTML, the data table, and show the viewers a couple of free open source tools that they can use to maybe enhance their project.
yeah,
And then, like I said, I'll take it from there offline and finish up. So what you're going to see is all of these different views. So in a browser, you can go to, in our case, learn show um, license summary slash all for every record, or slash 2021 for just that year's records. Let's make the latest. So that's what users are often going to say is, okay, the job runs every 5 minutes. I'd like to see the latest records from show license summary. So I do this under its own set of URLs in its own folder. And we're just going to make a simple view here called, latest show license summary. And if you've been paying attention, you might get a sense that we're going to follow this view up with a query set into that database table. And we're going to say, use the timestamp key that we use to ingest the data and filter out to just the latest records, okay? So we're going to use this view into the views. Now, I'll do this later, but I also have sort of an all latest that
okay,
will give me the latest from every single table.
okay,
But that's not going to work because of the iOS XE and XOS discrepancy. It's not quite ready yet for iOS XE. But Danny, I will make sure that that view does work in time. So
okay,
let's do show license summary. We need that model to be imported. And now it's really simple. Like you can see, it's like 6 lines of code. And we can even write this one from scratch or just copy and paste. But what the key here is, and I'll show you, is let's work backwards. We have to return, right, as from our function, the render, and that's just like Django templating in Python, render. And we're going to render the request itself. The HTML template we want to render, and then the context. And in this case, the context is going to be our list from our query set. Okay, so let's write that from scratch. We're going to say show, license summary latest. And our latest timestamp is going to come from the show license summary model dot objects. And you know what's neat, Danny? This Pythonic SQL, I just love it. I
oh
don't need
yeah,
to do any I don't need to do anything special other than just say dot latest on the timestamp field, because if I do a split screen real quick, in the model, that timestamp field is a date time field. So that opens up the dot latest function or method here, right? Pretty neat. And then we're just going to say, okay, that's fine. Go get and I'm going to call this license list equals the objects using a filter of that timestamp we just captured. So now I could have, 65,000 records in that database, but it's only going to give me the latest timestamp. So then I set context up as that license list, and I return the context. So now let's go ahead and say show license summary latest. So you've heard me talk about kind of the triangle between the URL and the view. We've written those two things. Well, now we have to go write the template. So in Merlin templates, latest. We're going to make a new folder here called show license summary. And let me just cheat a little bit. No, I don't want that one. I don't want show version. Let me just cheat a little bit here. Yeah, this one will be perfect. And so I always do this, by the way. I'm going to make a new, actually, I'll just copy the whole file in and rename the file as show license summary latest. Okay, so now let me gut this a little bit. And again, where do I need to reference, right? I need to reference the model. And it's not for interface, an interface list. So let me start at the top, right? So this is the latest show license summary results. And I'm going to make that a header here as well. Show license summary results. And our table ID is going to be show license summary, let's say. And then so let me just finish this. Okay, so this here is just HTML. That's all it is inside of a Django 2 template that will render this HTML. Down here is what's known as datatables.net. That's where I'm getting this code from, data tables. To make this HTML table, you can see it's a table, dynamic, and it has rows, and it has, right, columns and buttons and all of this stuff that's defined in the JavaScript. That was free and open source. I pieced it all together, but I didn't certainly come up with this JavaScript myself. It's from data tables. And you'll see when we present this what that means. Um, so, so that now we're ready to make this, instead of for interface, let's say for license, right? In license list. Remember, that's what we returned from our view. Where did my view go? Where's my latest views? All right, remember, I'm returning context, which has license list, which is my query, which will contain 2 records, by the way. So I need to loop over those and say for license in that list. Well, I know I have the alias and I know I have the timestamp. I need to go get the rest of my data from the model. So if we open up the model here and go back to our table, show license summary, right? We're going to have the license name, the entitlement, the count, and the status. So then I say here, I'm just going to do a little more copy paste, by the way. So that's, I skip operating system. I know it's in my model, but I don't know. You can pick and choose what you decide to show the user. And I'm just saving them the operating system of the device, although I could include it. I could include a lot of different things. And status. Okay, so Danny, do you have any questions before I bring up the page, or while I bring up the page, do you want to maybe, do you have
Yeah.
anything you want to ask?
Yeah, I mean, I'll just do just a brief highlight. So, the same way we just referenced the API and talking through that piece, this is kind of just another interface to view the data, right? So at this point, we're looking at it from the human side of it, the HTML, and looking at it in a nice table view. Think of it as like an Excel sheet, which I know we're about to view, so I don't want to describe it too much, but this is where you would actually view a web page that's more human readable versus what you saw with the API and the JSON. So,
I know I blasted through quite a bit tonight, and I appreciate everybody watching and their patience. And I really wish Danny and I could sit in a room together with some real servers and some real technology, because we're having a lot of fun, and we're doing this on for free on our home computers on our free time late into the night. So I'm thankful if you've spent your time with us tonight and joined the streams that we've done over these last few weeks. I hope if you watch them back in order, they'll come together as something you can understand. But this is partly why I guess Django is a blessing and a curse. I happen to really like, we've written everything from REST APIs to backend models to SQL to now HTML and JavaScript and CSS. I like that it's a full ecosystem, and we're really in control of the full um, three tiers if we think of it as a three-tiered architecture. But and maybe that will inspire you if you've never written an HTML page and made your own web page before, or maybe you've done one but you haven't done one with JavaScript in it. Django has actually led me to quite a few new languages and tools and things of that nature. So it's a lot of fun. It's challenging, that's for sure. But I hope throughout these streams and with Danny and I really trying to explain it as we go, I hope that this series of three videos or three streams that we've done together has been worth your time. So Danny, we're really close. What's exciting is that nothing crashed. The server's built. So actually, what's the easiest way to get here? If you do port, oh, I forgot to add it in one place. That's okay. I'm not going to rebuild it all. You'll actually have to go directly to um, port 8000 slash. So if you do this, go to latest slash. I'll show you. I just forgot to add it to this latest landing page, but I will add it there after the stream.
Okay.
So if you just go ahead and manually type in slash,
Oh, okay.
show license summary.
And this is the page, what John just mentioned, this is the page that he's going to add it to. I went to just latest, so people can see kind of where it would be.
Yeah, it slipped my mind. Oh, did you get an error? Template
Yeah.
does not exist. Show license summary latest.
Oh, I forgot latest. Wait. What's the complete URL? Slash latest slash show license summary?
Oh, I've made a mistake somewhere. It's looking at show inventory. Is somewhere. I'm gonna have to tear it down, Danny. So I've made a quick.
Oh, you're
I've made
okay.
a little mis- I've
Hey,
made a
we.
little mistake in my view. In my view or my URL somewhere, there's a. Let me
It's
fix it.
okay.
Let me fix it.
I know we were copy and pasting back and forth, so I'm
Show
sure it
license.
may have slipped.
Show license summary. Yeah, I see the mistake. I see it. Show license summary. Yeah, I see the mistake.
There
And
we go.
actually, while I'm in here, then this will just take a second to add it to slash latest.
Okay.
Uh, summary. Everything's saved, and let me build it.
Okay.
And let me bring it up. And we're 2 minutes away, everyone. This will come up, and then Danny will show you this view. It's pretty exciting. What I we're a little pressed for time, but what I had hoped to do, if you really want to see the difference between an HTML table and what I keep calling a data table. There really is a difference. One is powered by JavaScript and CSS, and the other is just a plain old HTML table, which is great. Which, I'm not trying to diminish that. It looks great, but the first time I turned one of my plain HTML tables into a data table, it was like it almost made it feel enterprise grade. It gives you search and pagination and buttons, and you can even drag and resort the columns. Danny will show you all this in a second. But if you have ever, if you have a project that uses HTML tables in particular, data tables are free, very easy to connect and plug into your code. They give you everything you need to get going, remarkably for free. And I think every page I go to now on the internet, I see them everywhere now, and I go, "Oh, that's clearly a data table. They got their code the same place I got my code, right?" It's pretty neat.
That's funny.
Okay, so just to recap, because this will probably be it once we get the latest page up. We started with Danny's Genie parser for show license summary. It gives me the JSON that I need then to model it, migrate it into Postgres, schedule that activity, what I just described, either through a repeatable scheduled task or with the click of a button or even with an input box. And now there are, any different ways you can imagine to present that data. Okay, Danny, do you want to try /latest now?
Yeah.
Server is up, and you should see a new show license summary, third from the bottom. You might have to hit next or add
Oh,
show
yeah, I
all
see.
records or something. Even what Danny's looking at now, that is a data table. So the
Yeah,
latest page is using data tables. And I see the link worked. Nothing crashed this time.
there it is.
And there you go, everybody. All this almost a month worth of streaming. But that's worth it, because now
Hey, get
imagine
this
how
big
powerful
one.
that is to your business. You can sort, search, filter, find. It's time stamped. Um,
There
I
we go.
think there's buttons on that screen, Danny, if I'm not mistaken, like PDF and
Yep.
copy and things like that.
Yeah.
So if you click copy and then start run Notepad and then paste, it's actually going to copy that table into Notepad, or whatever you want, right? An email or something, or the PDF button or whatever, right? So that's really exciting,
Oh,
Danny.
very
That's
cool.
that's so cool. Yeah,
Hey, this is what we came here for. Like you said, it took
yeah,
about a month probably worth of streams. Three streams across 3 weeks, but um, yeah, it's this is kind of where all of the issues we've ran into the past 3 weeks really make it worth it, because at the end of the day, you know, we have something that we can read. It's human readable. You can filter. So obviously we only have it's the same device, but one device essentially in here, um, with multiple licenses. But let's say you wanted to filter on a particular device or a particular license. So for those that don't know, like these licenses, Network Advantage, DNA Advantage, actually have different features or provide different features depending on the level of license, because these are two different level of licenses. So it would be interesting for you to view, like, okay, how many DNA licenses do I have versus Network Advantage. So
yeah. And
very very cool.
we didn't even get to the, like. There's more things we'll do or can do. I will do, but there's a search capability. So to Danny's point, in
Oh
Merlin, if I
yeah,
had 1,000 devices and I needed just to search for DNA Advantage, it would come back with the 200 or 400 or 90 devices that are running DNA Advantage, right? Like it's a full searchable database. So Danny, I really want to thank you for inviting me on your platform and your stream, and I don't know, did you ever? when you wrote the Merlin parser, did you ever think that would show up in a data table on a, you know what I mean? Someday it must be pretty neat to see your parser in action, right?
Yeah, yeah, no, I've definitely I figured it would be used, but actually seeing and going through the process with you is definitely another experience, and I'm it makes makes me happy to see that it could seeing like using Merlin for example. I could see an enterprise or an organization using a tool like Merlin to filter through the different licenses because the catch to all this, for the outside user, you may not know this, but like specifically like the DNA licensing, that's all subscription based, right? So that's where it becomes trickier on, of course you have to track how many years you have, like each of the terms, but just tracking the amount of licensing you have in your environment, and more importantly, if it's in use or not. Because this is smart licensing, you'll have like these devices actually have to call home to a licensing server. Most of the time, that's Cisco's cloud. It's in Cisco's cloud, but there are on-prem solutions for that as well. But if let's say it misses, it's on a regular cadence to communicate with the server, and it misses that cadence, there is a grace period. But then sooner or later you may lose some of the functionality. I do believe that Cisco kind of recently changed that, where you may not lose functionality at all now. But whenever I was writing this parser, that was kind of the thought process behind it. Is you don't want to be caught with having a bunch of expired licenses that are on like day 89 of your 90-day grace period, and then overnight lose a ton of features across multiple devices. So, yeah, to answer your question, John, it's very cool to see, and just knowing the implications of a tool like Merlin that an organization could use.
Well, fun. And we persevered through some, running out of disk space. Even that was something I didn't think of would happen to us. But
Yeah.
I've enjoyed my time doing this, Danny, and I wish you the best of luck with your streaming. And I do my best to tune in and try to support you. So thank you so much. And this will be full feature by the end of the weekend. We're almost at the end of the work week, and then I'll have lots of time to finish up the parser. So thank you, and thank you for everyone who's watched these streams. Reach out to me on Twitter, John_Capobianco, with any questions or any involvement. And I hope to see you all soon. Thanks, Danny.
Yeah, thanks, John. And yeah, if you have any questions with this, or obviously any questions about the stream, you can contact me or John. I'm at DevNetDan. Obviously, I post replays of the streams or links to the VODs. So if there's anything also that if you've made it this far and you want to see something specific about the stream or any questions, and you'd like a more concise video, I definitely could find some time to actually record a video that may be smaller than our 1 to 2 hour stream videos. So but yeah, let me know. And thanks again, John. Really appreciate it. This was a great collaboration. And I will be talking to you guys later on the Twitterverse, I'm sure. So, all right. Have a good night, everyone. Talk to you later. See you.